Welcome back to the Sports Source, the segment brought to you by Safety Systems. If you're planning a getaway this summer, do what I do. Trust Safety Systems. They can get you a security system that is as good as any you'll find anywhere in America. Contract better than any of these national companies that constantly bombard you with mailers and stuff in your mailbox. But they also, what it does is it gives you peace of mind. So you can sit there with your smartphone or your tablet. You can be in Daytona Beach. You can be in Timbuktu and be watching your own home, locking doors, closing doors. The whole thing, lights, you turn it on. You can control it all from miles and miles away. And you can always watch your house and get that peace of mind. Safety Systems. Call VFL J.J. Surlis and his team this week. Okay. College football writer Stuart Mandel pointed out something yesterday on Twitter I thought was interesting, and that is that the Big Ten Network carried Big Ten spring games all day, one after another, okay? And that's because Big Ten Network is co-owned by Fox, and Fox Sports doesn't do all this streaming stuff. Fox Sports, in fact, they come out and say, why would we drive people away from TV? We're a TV company, which I agree with. So they keep all their stuff linear, as we say. ESPN, you can't get much more into streaming than in ESPN. And that's why yesterday, to find the orange and white game, you couldn't just flip by on your remote to ESPN or the SEC network. You had to go to the app and switch over here and do that. And my fear is, with ESPN being into the streaming so much, and SEC games, all of them, going to ESPN in the future, and ABC, it depends on how much they split with ABC. If you run into one of these days where ESPN has NHL or NBA opening night, or they've got the Major League Baseball playoffs, we saw it last year when they had to put all the SEC games in like daytime slots for a week or two. Are we looking at a day where regular season games are going to be more on ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus? Because most people, I would guess, at least ancient people like me, don't like that and would prefer just having it on the remote on the television. Does this worry you a little bit? Am I out of touch with this whole streaming thing? I mean, I stream, I just don't like it for games.
I think a lot of people agree. Yeah, I think a lot of people agree with you. I'm a streamer where switching app to app's not a big deal to me, but there are enough people that are complaining about it and unhappy about it where I think it matters. And it's still, having to go from one to another is still a bit annoying.
Yeah.
It's easier, more natural to just go from FS1 to FS2 on your dial where it's one channel below on your guide. So we're trending to more streaming, and that is more part of the future. But in terms of big games, regular season games, which you're talking about, where people don't want to do that, I think we're still years away where the majority or everybody for sure is okay with that.
You think we're headed, I guess I'll look at it this way. Let's put this question. Would you have preferred partnering with a network that focused on linear as opposed to partnering with a network that is so focused on streaming, Vince? Or no?
From a business standpoint, it's probably the streaming because that's where we're headed. But from a consumer standpoint, and just me personally, it would be the linear version. I'm like Josh, I do the streaming. I'll move from app to app. It's still easier and more efficient to do it just with regular TV, but we're going that way. And I'll tell you, just from following Fight Sports, ESPN has a history of doing it with their apps, and UFC's done it, where they will put premium content on the apps to force subscribers to it. Mm-hmm. So I do think that's where we're headed for those regular season games. To your question.
I don't like it at all. And by the way, Chuck, get off my lawn. I'm not a fan of it. I do wonder, from the SEC perspective, what's Greg Sankey think about this? Is there any deal that he has cut? Maybe he likes it going in that direction.
We don't know the deal. But if it's like everything else, agreed.
But I've got to think that Sankey would look and say, to Josh's point, the majority of people would probably prefer, hey, I've got ESPN here and ESPN too.
I got two games. I can hit the previous button. And go back and forth between plays. Yeah,
and that's what I like. But
think about how much complaining there is if the game before yours goes a little long, and your game, meaning the team you're pulling for, starts on ESPNU instead of ESPN2, and you have to switch over. Like, that's still channel to channel, and I think it ticks off a lot of people. So now we're talking about platform to platform.
Well, see, I think the younger you are, this is kind of not as much as a problem as it is the older you are.
It's more normal. Yeah.
And if you Google this, I think you'll find a headline that says ESPN wants to be the hub of all sports streaming, even if it helps the competition. And I find that interesting. And the other thing I
understand
noticed,
it.
and the other thing I noticed, what was one of the headlines that came out before the Orange and White game? Tennessee working on improving the Wi-Fi. Tennessee, I mean, this is just like the direction we're going.
Well, I get that. My only problem, I stream. I've got 4 million of these streaming services, but because you need one for you watch soccer, then you got to get Paramount Plus and Peacock. You watch NFL, then you got to go over here. So I do it, but the problem is it's just as you said. Okay, got to go to my base page now over to this other app and open that app, as opposed to channel 121, channel 122. That's just easier, quicker. I don't miss as much. But the interesting thing about the streaming, and I brought this up because that game was streamed yesterday, and I know a lot of people who said, I'm not watching it because I don't want to go over to ESPN Plus, I don't pay for ESPN, et cetera. But the interesting thing about all this streaming stuff, no one makes money with it. No one. Netflix did initially. Check their stuff. They lose money every quarter. ESPN is hemorrhaging money. Vince is right. Everyone thinks it's the future. But they're still waiting for somebody to figure out how to make it work. So they're all dumping money into this black hole, assuming someday it will work. I'm not sure it will. We'll see. There are some times when technology goes in one direction and everybody wants it to do this, and humans at home say, nah, not doing it. And you go back to, this is ancient, but VHS and Betamax, that used to be a thing. VHS 1, anybody who bought Betamax was doomed. Just throw it out in the yard. We'll see about the streaming thing. I want to see the first time somebody makes money doing it. And you can follow Wall Street Journal and figure that out. But if you're an SEC UT sports fan, I would be concerned about how many times I'm going to be on ESPN Plus moving forward for regular season
Put
games.
Vanderbilt on there.
Yeah, there you go. All right, when we come back, 2 NCAA rule changes this week. One is big, and one is kind of pointless, in my view. We'll see if these guys disagree. Come on back on the Sports Source.